What's up everybody? The surroundings look a little bit different, and that's because we're not in Japan today, we are in England. For today, we're actually going into Nottingham to a friend of mine and to see his shop. You know, as you can probably tell by now, I've got a little bit of interest in French cars, and this chap does as well. So he's got some pretty fun things lying around his workshop that I really want to show you. So we're going to get in the car and we're going to take the, I think it's about an hour and a half drive over to Nottingham. We're going to take a look, see what sort of stuff he's got in there. So join us for the ride. So we've arrived and we are just now outside Melliard Motorsport. Now, from the outside, you can't tell what is in there. There's a little hint of something pretty cool just there, but no one would know. So this particular building has quite a lot of really cool vehicles inside that I'm gonna very quickly spin you around and show you. I think you're gonna like some of these things. I am, because you know what I'm used to seeing. And this is a little bit different. Let's go and walk through the door and see what Ollie's saying.
So it's a 3 litre RS 2600 Group 2, which were allowed an overbore in period. So it's a 3 litre Cologne built V6 with Gurney Westlake heads on the original slide throttle magnesium intake manifold.
Yep. Magnesium
engine mounts, magnesium oil pump mounts. We've changed this one because it was starting to fracture. The stuff's really old now, but this is surviving just. But they go porous and you get a lot of leaks. It's hard to control idle and things, but we're desperate to keep the original parts on the car. When we race it again, not if, when, it will have a new build engine. This engine's done like 3 seasons, so it does work. It does work.
What sort of power do these put out?
350 at 8,000 RPM. Yeah, well, it's got torque. It pulls. It wakes up at 5, I'd say, but it's got torque.
So I was saying that all of these cars in here are real. They're not replicas.
Correct. They're all period history cars.
And this is really special. This is.
And we don't see it. The problem is you probably see it when you've got a Ferrari 312 or a Villeneuve car or a Senna car, or you expect to see the real things.
Yep.
But when these have gone through the doldrums and obsolete and down into this, drop down into the 40, 50,000 pound mark, to retain, as this car does, the headlining and the rear quarter trims, it's just incredible. You know, and the original paint. And you can't even question the car. That's
the original
great.
paint.
When you go underneath, it's got every curb strike is still on there, and even so, the Italian, the way they prep cars. So this rear section down there, you weren't allowed to modify the diff tunnel. So the Italians have cut a hole out and siliconed an aluminium piece in there to get clearance.
Well,
if this car was restored or someone built a new build, they'd make that beautiful. But that's how it was. That's the beauty of the car. They were all fairly rudimentary, apart from the Zack Speed, which was works spec.
So what year is this?
1980.
Okay.
And in fact, this car and that car raced together in 1980. Some people don't care, but for me, that's it's incredible. Cool. It's amazing. It's amazing. And the rumour has it, the mechanic from Zack Speed left at the end of the season, went to Italy, and took this car with him, or the body shell, which Terzi then produced into this car, and he took the 79 Zack Speed, which was sold from Zack Speed to Terzi.
Original paint though?
Yeah, it's amazing. I would have bought the car had I. When we first found out about it, probably 2010. If I had the money, I would have bought the car. So this is unusual in that the Italians had an Italian championship which didn't comply to international rules. It was a national championship, but this car is international spec. So that's unusual as a period car. And it has raced. The guys that bought this car in Belgium raced it 2017, 2018 at Peter Auto. Did I think they did Monza and Spa, which are the two least favourable circuits for this sort of car as power circuits. So this is like a privateer version of the Zac Speed. So if you look at detail, you can see the Zac Speed, but not on this. But if you look at things like the centre locks, the centre lock on the Terzi is essentially a bolt-on flange with a centre lock, front and rear, and the way the axle mounts is fairly conventional. Then if you look at Zac Speed, the centre locks, the hubs are from a Porsche RSR.
Wow.
Calipers are Girling 18.4, 16.4, sorry. The late GT40 or the Lola T70. It runs air jacks, which was a big deal, you know. We can probably run it up and down on them, but yeah, it ran an air jack lift system. The car was built primarily for endurance racing, so one of the cleverest features you can't see, because they had to run 1800cc and 4-speed gearbox. The final drive was imperative to gear the car, so it doesn't have a conventional half shaft. It has a drive shaft that you can actually pull out through the centre. You can take it out without taking the wheel off. So what it allows you to do is fast crown wheel and pinion changes or diff changes. It's still original paint, largely.
No.
Yeah.
This one too?
Yeah, the underneath, inside is all original. All of this is painted on stripes.
Yeah.
Really, it doesn't do a huge amount. We do Goodwood Festival. Do some testing. And we'll probably try and race it this season. I think that's what it's come to.
I didn't expect it to look like that.
These cars got really hurt in post 74. They changed the rules, and it was dead strict. And so even the centre locks and the front tension strut was a rule set where below the axle line was free in an effort to stop all the multi-link suspension. And what Zaxby did, again, was really clever. By running the tension strut off the anti-roll bar mount, they in theory didn't pick up or modify the front, and then they ran the steering through the centre of the tension strut, so the tension strut moves with the steering. So it's again a really clever. They made, I think, 11 customer cars, but they were national specs, so the customer cars primarily ran a 5-speed and a 2-litre engine, and the international cars, such as Zac Speed, they only built 3. But they're fast still. The Capri will do 17s at Donington. The Zac Speed will do 18s all day long. So that's a good, that's a modern car type. I think something like a Porsche GT3 would probably do similar.
This one, I believe, you were talking about.
Going to try and start it.
Yeah. If you want to.
Yeah. No, I do, and they need it, but it is a process. And it is loud. You might even, James, want ear defenders.
Is it that loud? It's difficult to...
as a rule of thumb, the mechanical injection, the first thing is just temperature. You have to ensure really that the ambient temperature isn't too cold, because you get problems with the metering unit if you're not careful. Getting your pressures, your oil pressure, fuel pressure, and it runs so much compression that we actually run a retard function to make it easier. It's just a very difficult engine to just fire up. You have to break the starter motor pinion if you're not careful. Akin to kickstarting an old motocross bike, and you get a kickback. A very similar thing. You have to set your fueling. But first of all, we'll just get battery primed, and I'll just run oil pressure and fuel pressure.
Very exciting. Is it really going to be that loud though? My God, that's, dude, that.
So you have to try and get it to full lean or
Yeah,
run
yeah.
off as fast as you can because it runs rich.
Yeah.
It's very difficult on your own because you normally.
Yeah.
But you can
That's
hear at the end
mental.
how sharp it gets. You know when it gets up to temperature.
Yeah, that is mental. I had no idea it was going to sound like that.
No one does. It's brutal.
That
Totally.
is the loudest thing that I've ever heard in my life. Car-wise, I think that is legit. That is like
ear splitting. I mean, I'm only revving to 4.5.
I could honestly feel it in my chest.
If I blip the throttle to 6 static, it tickles your ears.
Oh God,
brutal. It's not. You can't take it to the pub.
No,
you can't.
No.
For some reason, it's the same engine as the Terzi.
Yeah.
Just I guess it's a more focused variant, but it sounds totally different.
Yeah.
The Terzi is how you'd probably more in line of what you'd expect. But the Zaxby always has just been an ear bender.
I'm not sure my ears will take anymore.
Different noise with the with the Capri. So we start the Zaxby on brake cleaner.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't foul the plugs up. And we start the Capri with petrol because we need to keep the slide throttle lubricated.
Okay.
So it should. I don't see any reason why it won't fire. But two very different noises.
That is a different sound, isn't it?
Yeah.
Deeper. I could live with that one more.
Yeah.
than that thing. Jesus.
Well, it's an easier for the customer. It's an easier car to drive.
Oh yeah.
It's a lot more. The Zaxby sounds once you're out on in the Zaxby under load, it's not bad.
Yeah.
But it's a smaller window to access.
Yeah.
Because you've got less power, more brakes. So you have to access that, not overslow the car.
Yeah.
And be more clinical.
Yeah.
And you can't drive out of a mistake, whereas the Capri's got torque and grip, and you can kind of make a mistake and drive out of it if you need to. A lot softer on the engine and feel, but different noise. Should be a nice shop to function when all the cars are the same. You can then kit it out to suit hardware and things. And well, there's 5 on site, but one's at the paint shop, one's in the storage bubble on the other side. And the Alpha's pending completion at some point in the new year, so we can then exchange that for the black 5 Turbo.
So maybe the next time that I venture over here, this might be.
Hopefully it'll have some memorabilia on the walls. None of these will be in here. I want to see them gone, really. And for good reasons, driving and used. That's the key. And replaced with 3 or 4 more.
Are there many in England?
I have no idea. I used to think I knew, put it that way, whether I actually knew, but I always sort of had a figure in mind of 5 Turbo and Turbo 2. But stuff turns up. People send me pictures of cars in garages that I've never seen or heard of before.
Yeah.
We certainly had a lot of cars suddenly export 5 or 10 years ago, which went out of the country. I have no idea on a figure now. I would guess probably maybe 20 or 30 T2s would be. This would be nice to see on the road because that's for sentimental reasons.
Yeah.
That was my old car, and that's been a long burn, but we're getting there.
I'm really jealous that you have one of these actually. They just, look at how they're made. It's just so cool.
It's,
Like how it looks
it's
and
function,
just-
it's pure function, really.
And I think what you said earlier about, you know, going to somewhere like Paris or something in one of these, and you know, you imagine that sort of nighttime street, and you just hear
Yeah,
the
yeah,
downshifts
well, they're-
and the flames, and people look at it and think, "What a hero!"
There's no animosity towards them.
Yeah.
It covers all genres and age groups and
Yeah.
and types, and
Yeah.
I don't think there's anyone it aggravates. So you could drive it through Paris, and I think older Parisians
Yeah.
would still be into it. You wouldn't have to be a car person.
100%.
You know, you don't have to be a car person. You have to be a country person, patriotic.
Yeah.
They know it. The car was so well publicised.
Yeah.
And then the younger generation, it skipped a gap. So you've got the younger generation.
We love a bit of theatrics.
Yeah, it's got a wide audience.
Yeah.
And on stuff like Instagram, it's as I said before, it's like
Yeah.
double hitting.
Yeah.
The 80s, you kind of think the 80s is over now, and everyone's looking into the noughties cars and finding the next big thing. But
Yeah.
these have resurged again because I think they're undervalued still.
Yeah.
Despite huge amounts of money for essentially a Renault 5. In principle, you could say that about a Lancia 037 or a Lancia Stratos. It's still a sum of parts. It may be a Renault 5, but it's a sum of parts. And if a Stratos commands 600,000 now,
Yeah.
and a T16 commands 250, 300, these are good value. But this would be a nice car. It's, you know, it's everything essentially that counts has been gone through.
Yeah.
Trying to keep the interior, but it's so fragile. It's just borderline crispy. But apparently our guy's got a softening agent he can put on. Just the retrim kits never look the same. That's the problem. And these sections in here are just a flat panel. Whereas they should be like this, a cast, like a moulded section.
Yep.
And I much prefer to see all the cars, all of these, with the original trim. I just think it adds a little bit to the car. But you do get to a point where you have to think, is it detrimental to the car's value? So, you know, this one, it's all split in here. I can kind of live with that. And the carpet's in quite good order, but the headlining, we had to change and do. So...
Yeah,
and the
it's good
dashboard,
looking though, isn't
the
it?
dashboard seats are original actually, and they're okay. So it's just about trying to preserve the best bits really, but they don't age well. That's the problem.
There's a massive tyre on the back of
Yeah,
that.
but they're rubbish on them. That's just a boulevard cruiser.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you very much for showing me this
Pleasure.
little treasure trove of.
Trouble.
That is very cool.